What's up, everybody? Welcome to Good Fight Culture Company podcast. We're going to be talking about myths tonight. Myths about marriage. So we have Jeremy and Deb Ballon. Welcome, guys.
Hey.
What we want to hear first is what is what is one of the biggest myths you've heard about marriage before you got married? And you got married and then realized, well, that wasn't even true. What's one thing that you guys heard?
You want to start?
No,
you
go
want to? Okay. For me, the first thing that stands out is I do remember a bunch of younger married men telling me when I was probably somewhere around 18 to 20-ish, they would always say that, the honeymoon stage is your first year to 2 years.
Okay.
That was the honeymoon stage where it was all just amazing and fun.
You took my idea. I was going to say that.
Oh, okay. Well,
I'll add to it.
that's a myth. On our part.
On our part, yes. At 100%.
We can go deeper if you want, or how, I don't know how, but
Whereas,
yeah, that's for us. That was,
Whereas
for me at least.
You mean
it
lasted longer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember hearing that too from everyone. Just literally everyone in our circle saying, first 2 years, honeymoon stage. Then after that, it gets hard. It was hard the first 2 years. Then it kind of tapered off, as we matured in Christ, matured as married people,
Yeah.
I just remember thinking that.
I think for me, we've talked like on and off about what our best years were, but 1 and 2 were for sure not up there. It wasn't up there to our favorites, but
there was still some wonderful
things,
that obviously we wouldn't have stayed it through, I guess you can say. For those two, if it was that crazy, it's just not what we were expecting. It's just not what they told us it would be. So then we thought we were failures because they were saying all these things. Yeah, and then we were like, wait, no, it's not. It's not the honeymoon phase. Oh my gosh, we're already failing. And so,
we were, our first year was we were on staff at a church, and so here we are. We had this front of, we're newlyweds, we're on staff. Deb just gave birth to Taylor. We just moved into a new state. So we had all these transitions,
Yeah.
And it was
all that compounded.
You had Taylor that early on?
We had her in 2013. So we got married in 2012.
Oh.
We got married in 2012 of February. Then she
found out I was pregnant like October-ish.
Yeah, September, October-ish, somewhere on there. And then
moved to Florida December, drove cross country. I was pregnant. It was miserable.
Yeah.
Lost my phone somewhere between Louisiana and Florida.
You lost it?
I lost it at a gas station.
Well, she dropped it and somebody picked it up. We saw,
And it was one of those like phone cases where it was a wallet. So I lost my ID, lost some cash, lost.
So there's a Deb Ballon somewhere in Louisiana.
It's somewhere there. I just remember that. I know exactly which gas station it was too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was a lot going on because then also me not knowing. Jeremy knew the church family that we were going to join into, but I didn't know anybody. So for me, leaving my church family behind, my family, my friends, and then meeting completely new people, it was quite a shock actually. And then pregnant, so all the hormones and
gosh,
yeah,
that sounds like when we went to Estonia. Like you knew them.
Yeah,
I didn't. I was meeting everyone for the first time.
I didn't know that.
I'm like, so these are all you're talking about.
And you had Eastside too, right?
I had Eastside like 4 years after.
Oh, after.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't imagine getting there pregnant. That would have been super scary, but
if they weren't amazing, it would have been.
yeah.
But you guys were traveling while you were pregnant
We
already,
flew
right?
back when I was 6 months pregnant.
Ooh.
But that's all the traveling I did, I think.
But that was back to
we went
California with
Romania.
Mia,
Oh.
right?
Yeah, but we
Yeah.
did fly to Romania while I was pregnant with her too.
Yes. Yes, we did.
So yeah, we did fly with her. With
Yeah.
me being pregnant.
So maybe that just, taking all that into consideration.
Yeah. We were talking about this too the other day, where like you shared like a story, an IG story, remember about like men growing up without dads, and excuse me, like for me it was I always mentioned this to her before. I lost my dad when I was 14. So, I mean, before that, obviously, we saw him faithful in the ministry, faithful as a husband, as a pastor. Excuse me. But then at 14, that's like an age where you're getting to know your dad.
Yeah.
So I grew up, technically, you could say I grew up without a father figure from 14 on. So I didn't have any, I couldn't ask my dad questions about certain things. So there was that.
Yeah.
And then, then of course, all the things that we just talked about coming into marriage.
So, yeah, and then so you said that guys in the church or guys you were around kind of gave you this idea of the honeymoon for a phase. And then same with you, Deb, right? But what were some myths that you maybe, so those were kind of external, right? Somebody gave you a thought or suggested or said this. What were some things that you guys kind of assumed about marriage? Or went in thinking like, it's going to be like this? And even like for you, Jeremy, like you said, like your dad passed away when you were 14, but you saw their marriage before, and I'm sure that obviously gave you some idea of what marriage is going to be. Deb, same thing with you. So like, what were some myths that you guys in some ways created or assumed?
Right.
That, and then you went in and you were like, oh my gosh, you are not like my, assumption, or not like what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, getting into that, number one already that I can think of is going into it expecting that he would be like my dad, how my dad was for us growing up, and then how he was in the family. Like, so my dad did everything as far as like financials, paying the bills, and did this, and all, just basically all of that stuff. And going into our marriage thinking that, okay, he's going to be like my dad, doing the finances and all that stuff. But because I already had a background in accounting, in accounts receivable, I already, I loved balancing my checkbook and all these things. I ended up doing that stuff. And so I didn't mind it at first. But then after a while, I'm like, wait, why am I the only one? Why am I doing it when my dad was the one doing it for us? And I started getting overwhelmed because then I was pregnant and I had, Taylor. And don't get me wrong, because Jeremy is an amazing dad. Like, he was there, like, he got up with me in the middle of the night. He took the baby, he helped me feed her. Like, he was amazing. So, but just, again, the whole myth of like, wait, I was expecting him to do the finances. I was expecting him to do all these things. Why am I doing it? And then so throughout our 12 years of marriage, that was like, what do you call that? A recurring topic. Like, okay, like, I'm getting overwhelmed. Like, can you help me, at least pay this bill or do this? And he would offer too. So he's been great at that, like offering, like, what can I do? But I'm like, in myself, because I know what I'm doing. I want to give it to him, but I'm like, wait, I already know what to do. Let me just do it. Yeah. So then I take it back from him. And then he's like, no, I really want to learn. I'm like, no, I know, but I'm faster.
I'm better at it.
I know, right. So anyway, that's a myth. Like, thinking that you're going to do all the things that I thought my dad did for our family. You were going to do that for my family. And no, it's actually kind of a switch. And,
what's interesting though? We had our premarital counselors. They had us do a worksheet, and it was like basic household duties, so from finances to cleaning and childcare. And it was kind of like, we answered separately, but who we thought the responsibility of those things should be. So there were certain things that I was like, oh, you think I should do that? And
Interesting.
he thought, well, I think I kind of picked all the typical roles like I saw my parents do.
You mean she wasn't gonna mow the lawn?
Yeah. Stuff like who's going to take the car for maintenance or whatever.
Right,
Not that
right.
I wouldn't, but just like we kind of already had the idea of who was going to do what. Like I knew I would never do our finances because even now he's like, what did you spend? I'm like, I don't know, something.
Cricket out.
I don't know what. And
Whatever.
I tell him, and he's like, whoa.
Whatever Deb encourages you.
Like
to
I don't know.
spend.
We all went out to IHOP
IHOP.
after we went walking.
Steak dinner. Like, what is that? You were gonna
He's
go
like
for coffee.
He's like, when did you have dinner at midnight? Like I don't know.
Well, speaking of dinners, I thought I was gonna. I'm sorry, I have to mention it, but no, it's good. He makes dinners most of the time. Like he'll come home, he'll do the dishes, he'll do laundry, and he'll do cooking. And I'm like, this is not the way that I thought it was gonna be. I want to do all that, but I don't have the drive to do all that, and he just does it. Like, thank you.
But
Actually, I really am so grateful.
It's funny because I don't expect her to do it. I just know, I look at it as, okay, because she's working also, because we're obviously a double job marriage, but when I get home, my thought process is that she's stressed throughout all the day.
Oh, and
So
having
these are the
Taylor,
things
yeah.
that I should do so she can have a restful night.
Yeah,
But
and then I'm so grateful because I was telling him before too that having Taylor and homeschooling her, obviously we're adapting to what our life is right now, and but to be working full time, and then I have to compartmentalize my brain to think about Taylor. It's hard for me to switch duties, like manager duties, and then mom duties at the same day, same time, same day. And I was telling him, so at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, because I was doing this left and right, like I'm a manager, I'm talking to this resident, and then Taylor's texting me like, Mommy, I need help in the bathroom. It's a lot mentally, so that's why I appreciate you. I'm letting you know. Thank you for coming in and just kind of helping offload a lot of that. But I did, coming into marriage, think that I'm going to do my dinners. I'm going to do this amazing pasta dinner that Vanessa did. It's amazing. And, and like do that.
So you're like,
do
I'll
laundry,
bring the
dishes.
Martinelli. I got about a
I
Martinelli.
Dude, there's so much more that I could be doing. And so that's cement. I mean, for myself,
Yeah.
I'm bringing in.
And what about you? That you came in with, and you were just like, oh,
Yeah,
shit.
don't
That
look
you
at
can
me.
publicly
I was like,
share.
don't look at me.
Not.
Oh.
You have to go home with this.
I know.
But let me say this, just for everybody listening. So culturally, Deb, you come from a strong Filipino household, and Jeremy, you come from a mixed kind of home where your father was Filipino,
Right.
your mother was just straight white American.
Yep.
So
Southern.
I'm sure those things, and I want to get into that a little bit, but I just want everybody to know that is part of kind of the perspective and the perception,
Yeah.
everything that you go into. So what is one position or perspective that you had coming in that you assumed that you were like, oh shoot, this isn't what it is?
Yeah. And you can correct me as I go too.
No, it's okay.
But basically for
Real and
us,
raw.
it's so my mom and my dad. Their dynamic was, my mom was the I want to say the quieter. Is that how you would say that? The better term,
Very
I guess.
meek. She's very
She was
humble
meek and
Was she introvert or just like
No.
No,
quiet?
she wasn't.
was
She was friendly. She was loving, caring. My dad, on the other hand, he was quiet also, but he
Intense.
he was stronger character. Was a good leader, but wasn't external, I guess you could say. I don't know if that's, anyways, so my father basically did a great job leading my mom and the family.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when we got married, you could look at it two ways. You could look at it as maybe I didn't understand how it is, what submission means, whether it's, how the biblical meaning is.
Yeah.
Because we're supposed to submit ourselves to each other biblically, right? But in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I'm the man, and but then I also didn't know how to lead my wife. And so that was another, took me 12 years, probably still really learning it, but to kind of learn what all that means in our marriage. So, and I'm thinking, man is the leader. We are the, like that kind of aspect. Whereas,
So like your myth was kind of like you came in thinking like I'm gonna speak, and she's just gonna agree with me.
yeah.
Right.
But that wasn't the case.
Right. That's not the case.
That isn't the case.
I mean, I can 100% tell you that I wouldn't have expected that coming into. No, I think it's also because I grew up with just women and then my dad. So 3 sisters.
That's
my
true.
Mom,
Yeah.
and my dad. My dad, he's an amazing father, but my sisters and I are loud. My mom, whatever we needed, my dad provided. Not that we were spoiled, not at all, actually. But I think our voice as women kind of like, I guess you can say, like, was enhanced because there were so many of us.
That is a lot.
Yeah. And
And
my cousins are all, that we were close to, 4 girls as well. Like, we are just,
Yeah.
a family of women, strong women. My grandmother, my grandfather, very, not shy, reserved, quiet. My grandmother is strong, loud. Generals feared her, is what the stories about her are. She'd go to Vietnam and rescue her brother from being a prisoner of war. That's my grandma. That's who I look up to. And not that I was trying to like not submit to you. It's just that I didn't know how to either.
Yeah.
I guess you can say that way.
I think that if I were to compare myself to her dad will take some time before he answers a question or makes a decision. He'll take a look at it, observe it, analyze. Whereas for me, I'll jump right into it, and it may not even be the best answer or the best response. So in that case, the leadership style is
Different.
It's super different.
So,
And then one thing that I did want to mention too, because I don't want you to feel bad. And I'm sorry. I will say that I am sorry for my loudness sometimes. No, but also growing up. But growing up, seeing my dad, my mom worked. My dad was a pastor. He was not bivocational. He was supported, by the church, and my mom, went to work full time. So I grew up seeing that, and my dad preparing her lunch in the morning and breakfast, and loved that, and that's how I grew up, seeing that. And so our family growing up, again, not just with all the estrogen in the home, but also my mom worked full time. My dad was bivocational. We saw him more at home than we did my mom, actually, because my mom was out working. So, and then my dad would make her breakfast and prepare her lunch.
Oh wow. Okay.
And prepare our lunches, to go to school.
Yeah.
That's just all the years that I've grown up with my family. That's how it's been. So seeing me working and doing all this, it's not exactly different for me, if that makes sense. And so I'm sure it was a lot different for you to go to marry me, and then with my background, and then expect, again, the myths and expecting something, and then it not being the way that you expected.
Yeah.
Same with me, because just, again, seeing how my dad treated my mom and did things for my mom.
Yeah.
So.
I think going back to originally what we were all talking about with the first year or two honeymoon period.
Yeah.
We just had all these, it was, somebody had told me this about marriage. It was 2 imperfect people coming together and trying to do something perfect.
Yeah.
And so you have two of us who are obviously both imperfect, and marriage is a perfect thing because it was designed by God. So here we are trying to make this work, and it probably, our first year or two wasn't really God-centered because we had all these transitions in life and then all of our baggage coming into it, and not focusing on the Lord and how He can help us in something that He created, you know.
I did want to circle back because earlier you had mentioned, we were serving at this church, we were newlyweds, and then we also pregnant with Taylor, a few months later. But you had said that there was a front that we were putting. I don't think it was necessarily a front because we weren't being fake all those years, but the struggle was definitely real. And to have a face of like strength when at home you were just yelling at each other, like that's hard. Like it's not a front as in like pretending to be holy or something like that. It was more of like I was crying, right, but I'm trying not to like break down crying right now on stage.
In that time frame were there other couples or people that you guys were kind of walking with in that, or was it kind of a very private thing?
I think it was probably more private because it was on our part, our choice,
yes,
maybe, right?
Only because I didn't know. Again, I was just getting to know them. Toward the latter years, I definitely opened up to my pastor's wife, Stephanie. She and then also my friend Elizabeth, the worship pastor's wife at the time, and just everything. She knew everything, and it felt a lot better because it's like we're not, keeping everything in.
Yeah, there's accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you guys have premarital counseling?
Yeah.
No. That's one thing that we regret not doing.
We
talk about
we
it
always talk
all
about
the
that
time. We tell couples now, like, you need to do it because we didn't do it and we regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were, in our case, it was, her dad was the one that married us, right? And so I would tell her, I was like, babe, we are not having your dad counsel us.
Oh,
because it was that,
sure.
Well, and
but you were in the church at the time.
Yeah, I was serving also at the church, at his church, and so it was one of those awkward, moments where like, I don't know if I would want to be counseled by my future father-in-law. There's that weird angle. Yeah. I mean, he would probably try his best to not be biased, but
that would be weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be weird.
The conversations that you should be having.
Yeah, so
you don't want to have with your father-in-law.
And at that time we didn't know. We really did not know who to go to. And so we kind of had it where almost like it was backwards. So now we've been married, a year-ish at this point, and we're serving at the church in Florida. And our pastor there helped us and guided us and, counseled us. And so, but yeah, it was almost like it's in reverse. So when we had ministered to different couples at different stages in their marriage or even before getting married, we're always encouraging them to, get the counseling, the premarital counseling, obviously.
Yeah, and we actually want to, we've talked about it, why don't we go into counseling now? Really, why not?
Yeah.
It's never too late to ever, just talk about things and,
Talk about your feelings. Yeah, no, therapy is good, is healthy. I think it's something that has been kind of I don't want to say spoken against, but it hasn't been championed in the church.
Yeah.
Especially within minority communities.
Right.
It's almost normal. You go to a wealthier church or a larger church, and it's they have therapists on staff. It's it's a healthy thing, and it's a good thing, especially if you want to navigate some of the things that you don't even know how to talk about. And then I think too, what a big thing is our homes and the culture that is at home and the culture we grow up in, and then what we step into. And the reality is there is no culture. You create it.
Yeah.
And you don't know that at first.
Yeah.
So you're going and thinking this is how things should be. And then you're well, where's everything at?
Right.
Yeah.
So
and actually speaking into that, that's sort of where we're at right now. We found a happy medium. Just working into our strengths. I love numbers. I love crunching it. I love knowing where it's going.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm like, I already know what I'm doing, and he still wants to do it, but for the most part, like you doing like dinners, and he's a really great cook. So thank you. But
What's your favorite dinner from him?
Adobo. Spaghetti.
Adobo.
Adobo?
Chicken
Spaghetti?
adobo. No. Chicken adobo or spaghetti or.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot. Good job.
Thanks, babe.
No, but I'm just saying, like, we found the happy medium. So in the future, I mean, for me, I know maybe for you too, you're thinking it, but man, I would really love to be home and do all of that still. It's still a desire. And I think he still has a desire to just be him. And he'll tell me sometimes, I'm going to, work my hardest. I'm going to do my best so that you're home with Taylor, you homeschool her, and just that conversation. And so at least it's in here, and then we'll just work toward it. But to find the happy medium while you're not where you thought you were going to be yet, that's okay. That's healthy.
Yeah.
And that's holy, I feel.
Yeah.
What are 3 things, and maybe you might need some time to think of this, but 3 things that you would share with your daughter to say these things need to be included in a healthy home and healthy marriage? What are 3 things? Yeah, that's a challenge. And you can think of it a little bit.
For me, I've talked to her about one of these things already before, and she's 11, and it may I don't think it's too early, but I will tell her, say whenever God brings you a man to be your husband, I always tell her, I've told her about a couple of times already, but I've told her, make sure that he loves God. And I know we kind of say that in the church world, but do we really mean it when we say it, And I try to tell her, and I'll ask her what that means. What that means. And we'll take some time to just sit there, and she'll, kind of throw out, oh, maybe he reads the Bible, or maybe he goes to church, And so, that's all true, but that, that he's somebody that will respect his mom, obviously his parents, but especially his mom. If he has sisters, does he respect his sisters? Because that can turn around and, how he treats them will treat.
Yeah, the culture
her.
That comes
Yeah.
from home. Yeah.
So I think for me, one of the things we've told her, and this is what I've told her on the side of that, not necessarily in marriage, but it kind of ties into it, where we for her, at least in her life, we say you don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
And we've been like very good about reminding her, you don't have to do that. That's, as long as you love the Lord with your life and you follow him, he's commanded you to do something, whether that's, if it is go into college, then yeah, sure. But if it's not, don't feel pressure that you have to do that, because for us, as long as you love the Lord and you live your life for him, we don't care if you don't get a college degree. And so when I've talked to her about that, I've talked to her about even finding a future husband. And, my mom has this is after my dad had passed away. Sorry if I'm talking too long, baby. But my mom has always told us four kids, that she would always remind us about, you don't have to get a degree. You don't have to go to college. You don't have to, as long as you are following and serving God.
Yeah.
And we saw that in my mom's life. She surrendered to become a missionary at 14. Then she started praying for a missionary husband, and how God brought my father to her, a few years later. And then she stopped college at that point, and we all became missionaries as a family. So for 20 years, she didn't get a degree until later we come back and she finished the last year.
Oh, wow, okay.
So it was, she still got to have her degree, but for her, it was just, she committed her life into serving
Yeah.
the Lord. So it was
What's
So,
that?
but you would say so. The three things, like one, that whoever it would be, whatever guy, he has to love the Lord,
yeah.
and then two, that
I think I was waiting on you to kind of put in, but I was just trying to really mainly do just the one.
okay.
But that
Like,
would
no
be
matter doesn't matter the education.
Yeah.
It's like, do they love the Lord? Like that's the
Yeah.
one big thing that you would say.
Yeah.
What's kind of cool is that's how my dad brought us girls up too, and told us like, if it's not school, like we're already going to college, but if it's not finishing, it's the same thing. Like, no, but just being the center of God's will, meaning
Yeah.
like at least know that what you're doing, you're honoring the Lord with your life.
Yeah.
And so at that point, it was not college. And, we ended up working. So for her, I would tell her the same exact thing because that's how my dad told it to us. Regarding marriage, number one for me would be finances. Whatever it is, you make sure you're on the same page. Because,
Yeah.
meaning whatever you're going to do with your money, I don't mind. But make sure that with your husband, it's something that you both have agreed to do.
Yeah.
Because if not, you are going to forever, every single day, be
Yeah.
pushing and pulling
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
I-
All the unnecessary arguments and
I was gonna say, like, for us when we first got married, actually even right before we got married, we started talking about tithing, and so
Yes.
for us that was a big deal.
Yeah.
We no matter
Non-negotiable.
no matter what church the Lord had brought us to serve, we went there and we tithed at that church, and that was the first thing we took off. It was not just whatever is tenth; it was the first, and so that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, like if you're going to tithe, which I hope you are, and I'm saying you should tithe, it's biblical.
Yeah.
Tithe. And I hope that, again, if you love God, so going back to your number one point, if a man loves God, he will tithe.
Yeah.
It's a non-negotiable. So just be on the same page on what you're going to do with your finances, whether you want to prioritize saving. I mean, tithing, of course. So that aside, savings, if you want to, prioritize trips, whatever it is, be on the same page. Whatever you do, it's going to just take away all the unnecessary arguments and
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one other important one is, if that future husband would basically treat her family, which us, right, and to treat us like family, basically want to be a part of.
yeah.
Obviously there's the leave and cleave, and there's
Yeah.
biblically that they're going to be their own family, but would appreciate being taking part with what we do. Like for me, I'm the one that usually will ask her, "Hey, let's go see your parents. Hey, let's go see." I love hanging out with her parents. Like her parents are. I don't look at them as in-laws. To me, they are a gift to me, and I treat them as if they were blood parents. And I love hanging out with them. So. It just adds a little bit of fun,
Yeah.
to your life, and you get to when you all hang out together, so.
All right.
Yeah.
So love the Lord, be on the same page with finances, and how would you word that?
I would probably say would love the in-laws.
Love the in-laws.
I know. I think our world, our culture actually paints your in-laws always as
Monster-in-law.
yeah, whether it's her parents or the other way around, like my parents towards her kind of thing. But I just always thank the Lord. Like I never had those issues.
Like I love my in-laws too. Again, that goes back to number one though. We all love God, and when you love God, I feel like just the way you interact with people, the way you deal with things, it literally falls into place. Goes back to seek ye first the kingdom of God, and
Yeah.
and His righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Thank the Lord, like
Yeah.
I don't think of your in-laws as monster in-laws.
What is two things? Okay, so what would you say is the best thing about your marriage? Like, what would you say? Like, man, actually, and they could be two different answers, or it could be the same.
Yeah.
But what is the best thing about your marriage? And what is maybe one funny story that you would want to share?
We probably have a lot more, but I would say, can I say my favorite part? I guess first.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I'm trying to think.
I think for me it would be I just started referring to her, or saying it, not just started referring to her, but using it more, that she's my best friend.
Okay.
And it sounds kind of corny and cheesy to say,
like,
but I
you're so sweet.
but I really like that.
Well, I was like, just so everybody knows, that's a reference to the show 90 Day Fiance with Rose and No Neck Ed.
and he was like, "You're my best view." Oh no, she goes, "What a great view." And then he goes, "You're my best view." She was me. Yeah.
So that's Deb's
so
response.
Sweet. Anyway, so I said,
my best friend. All right.
Even if I agree with it.
Jeremy's sharing his heart.
Should we make a
no?
Even if I agree though that you are like my close friend. No, you're
like a brother.
It's not the best friend term is not reciprocated.
No, because you're
like
you're
the closest.
Right.
Yeah, she's my best friend. I like hanging out with her. That's probably my best part is we like hanging out together. So, whether it's like sometimes we try to do errands together. Like I'll force her to, hey, let's do this together.
No, you don't force me. I like
not in a bad way. But like if I just need to go grab some ice at Chick-fil-A, a bag of ice. Hey, do you want to go with me? Let's go.
I know.
Go get some ice.
Yeah.
Road trip.
But it's funny because I choose my friends very carefully. Like I don't just call everyone my best friend. There's people out there like, oh, she's my best friend. I'm like, you barely know me. So I'm very careful with my words. And yes, you are my best friend in that sense.
But
well, you're my husband. It's just more. But I get it. I get the sentiment, and I reciprocate that. Thank you.
Fine. I'll take it.
But anyway, it's just funny.
Okay. And what would you say the best thing about your marriage?
Oh, the best thing is that we can laugh. Sometimes
you can laugh like best friends.
We'll be like, let's say we're arguing or fighting, and maybe not one of the serious ones, but the more superficial ones, and then he'll do something dumb or I'll do something dumb, and then we'll just cannot hold the laughter in, and then it breaks that.
We had one
wanting to be angry.
We had one of those last week, I think.
Oh my gosh! Oh yeah, no, just yesterday.
No, it was
probably
a couple days ago where you were on your phone and doing something with some kind of music, and then I didn't realize it was like this dramatic music. Yeah. And we were arguing, we weren't talking to each other at this point. And then she was in the kitchen on her phone doing something. There was some kind of dramatic music into it, and I wasn't paying attention to it. I just wanted to go in there and hug her.
Yeah, so
I walked in. I walked in there and I hugged her, and then all of a sudden there's this music in the background.
And I started laughing. So I'm like, wait, let me just turn off the music.
Wait, I didn't even know why she was laughing. I was like, why are you laughing? Like the music. Why do you have to say?
I love my friends' hugs.
My friends give the greatest hugs.
Thanks, best friend. No, but it was just so funny. Yeah, you're right. That was a funny thing that happened. The music in the background. So if you guys are arguing, just play dramatic music in the background, like really like romantic, slow. Maybe that'll fix it.
So I think we said it already, but what's one thing that you would say to we didn't say this. We talked about premarital counseling, and you would say do it for sure.
Yeah.
But what would you say to a newly married couple like that? You would say, hey, if you can learn anything quickly, learn this.
Oh goodness.
Learn
this.
Would it be like are you asking like learn from something about your spouse?
Ooh,
Yeah, just
I got
advice that you would
something.
tell them straight up.
I
Like,
got
do
something.
do this, learn this.
For me, and I think you would agree, is learn to communicate without, how do you
Without
say?
guessing, maybe? Is
No,
that
no,
what you're
no.
saying?
I mean, like, learn to, it's self-control, essentially. Learn to communicate. Number one, there's different ways to communicate. Some people yell, some people are quiet. That's actually a form of communication. If you choose to be silent and be a silent partner, it's not healthy. And I'm guilty of that, sometimes. But learn to communicate. If you can communicate with each other healthy about your boundaries, about expectations, about roles, about everything, it all boils down to how you communicate it with one another. Learn that. Learn that first, and then at least that's the foundation. You'll know how to talk about hard things, easy things, simple things, whatever it is. As long as you communicate it well with your partner, with your husband, your wife. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. It's especially as men, like it's hard for us to open up or to communicate. Especially for growing up. To me, it's there's times where we would argue, and I would just stay quiet, go to the other room, or do something, or just leave. Like, I don't want to talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just hearing her out, because a lot of times she just wants to be heard, and I don't give her that, and
vice versa. I mean, literally, it works both ways. Again, if you learn to communicate with one another, like, just all the heartaches that would be prevented by knowing the tone and how to speak, So learn that, newlyweds. I'm telling you right now.
What about you?
I think probably learning how to find out what her likes and dislikes are, and play to that, to where, whether it be you could make it a part of your date nights, because you don't have to spend money, right? You could just, like, Deb would sometimes say, "Hey, can you take me out on a date?" I'm like, "Babe, we don't have money."
Yeah.
Like,
But really,
Chick-fil-A,
it's just,
Let's go out.
let's go to the beach. Just sit, we're here by the coast, Just park and go out into the sand.
I'm
That's
very
nice.
simple. Like, he's starting to find out I'm a very simple person. Like, you don't need to take me out to elaborate places. Just
Yeah.
One cookie tote and the beach is all you need, right?
down. I'm down. Let's go. But
Yeah, like just what her likes and dislikes are. That way you can, you can still try to win her over, like even in the 12 years of marriage, as opposed to just dating in the beginning, and once you're married, it's done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those are good, man. Is there anything else that maybe a funny story you want to share?
Well, yeah.
You want me to start it off a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead. No, okay, sure.
Okay. So we first got married. We are different. we're weird. We're a weird couple. So we get married on Leap Day, right? February 29.
Yeah.
This is.
And you chose that.
We chose that day because it was like we were wanting to get married on Christmas, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was the day. We were like, Christmas Day, but then we were like, it's too close to our engagement. We couldn't get anything
he
prepped.
Proposed in August.
Yeah, so that would only be 4 months, and we didn't want a long engagement. And so the next day we were thinking, what's another cool day next year? And we saw,
It's
Leap Day, because it was going to be
6
leap year.
months.
Which was 6 months, good enough. But it happened on a Wednesday. And then we had our wedding on noon. So people were annoyed probably because it wasn't a weekend. It was middle of the day, middle of the week.
Middle of the week. Well, anyway, sorry.
So all these things happened, right? And then I lost my laptop on reception.
On the wedding day.
Somebody
lost his
stole
laptop.
it, my laptop, yeah.
Yeah, and then it was just all these little weird things
That's how it
happening.
started.
Yeah.
And then so when we got to, and then just basically that day and that night, how
We were flying out for our honeymoon the next morning.
We stayed at a Holiday Inn or something like that,
Yeah.
you know, the night.
Close
Hotel
to LAX.
I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you know, some people think, oh, that's the night, you know, it's the first night that you're, you know, together as a married couple. And then he says, I feel weird because your dad paid for this room. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
I told her, I was like, I bet you your dad planned this. Like he, you know,
And
he did it.
He
but
literally
I-
thought about the whole thing and he told me.
I
So when
was-
he told me, I was like, oh, now so we bought like what, pizza, we got Domino's.
You just sat on the couch, huh?
It was the most hilarious.
it was like
For the
her
most
dad
part.
was like hooked us up. It was like a nice
the
corner
most
suite or something, and but I couldn't focus.
So it was a pretty interesting night. Yeah.
Thank you guys for being on the podcast. If people want to connect with you, you guys are currently at Wilshire Baptist Church in K-Town, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And you guys are just serving on the worship team and other like various ministries. Okay, so if people want to connect with you guys, what's a good way for them to just find you online or just connect with you somewhere?
Jeremy Ballon, that's my Instagram.
Cool.
Go me there. I try to do a lot of cool stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
I was just gonna say, what?
I am an influencer in the wild, so no, but that's life. Life is on there. So
You can email us at theballonfam@gmail.com. I will gladly answer. I answer
I hope
quickly
someone
on
emails
email.
you.
I hope so too. theballonfam@gmail.com.
Wow.
I will respond much faster.
All right, cool. Thank you guys for being on. It was great.
Thank you guys.
thank you.